Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Friday live stream. So just like the title and the thumbnail suggests, we're going to try to make sense of what's going on in the crypto space. I'm just going to here to show you why Bitcoin and altcoins have pretty much already done it in every single situation that we can imagine and exactly where we're at right now. We have to take a look at really two things. And this is actually a couple of questions that were posed to me by a couple of subscribers on X. One was from JJ Forever. And JJ's one of those, well, JJ's forever. JJ's one of those guys or gals who is somewhat critical sometimes when things go down a little bit too much, or doesn't really complain too much when it goes up. That's for sure. But he says, are we still mimicking 2017? Are we still right on track like everyone comes out and says? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to try to answer that today. So we're going to go over that and why it's not just about money supply. It's not just about rate cuts. It's not just about the macros. It's not just about the regulatory issues. It's just, there's a lot of things that are going on in the background. And again, we've already done all this stuff before. And then also I want to answer this question, which is really good. This is from Ian. He says, hey, Rob, I've been thinking about custody risk. I mostly use self-custody, but also have MicroStrategy stock. I appreciate your understanding view. What I'm not clear on is whether an ETF is any less risky than an exchange. Couldn't a custodian for an ETF be hacked, just like Bybit? You have mentioned you're considering switching from some funds to ETFs to diversify, so I'm kind of at a loss. What's going on here? What am I missing? And yes, I'm considering transferring some of my Bitcoin into an ETF. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why, and to answer that question, and we're going to go from there. But to get into it, before we get going, we took a very bullish stance yesterday on what's going on with the market. I still stand by that video. I think it's one of the most bullish videos I've ever done. You can check it out. There's a link in the description, I'm sure. You can just take a look at the channel. It's right there. It's the last one from yesterday. But I am under no delusion about what's going on in the market. We had a pretty bad pullback or a dump or whatever. Some people would say crash. Some people would not say a crash. Some people would say it's just a pullback. Some people would say, yeah, it's Thursday. But right now we've had a little bit of a rally and we're at 84,000. This is for posterity. But over 7 days, you know, from the 21st of February, we went from 96,432 all the way down to 78,000. That's quite a drop. In 7 days, that's almost 15%. In 7 days, 15%. Remember that number, 15%. And I'm under also no delusion about what's going on with the ETFs. It's bad. I mean, these people are dumping like crazy. Now, all of a sudden, BlackRock is almost the bigger dumper than Grayscale, as they've dumped yesterday 189 million worth of Bitcoin. And Grayscale only did 5.5 and 7.3 respectively. So BlackRock's dumped 189, 418, 164, and 158 million over the past 1, 2, 3, 4 days. And let's see what happens today. I don't expect them to slow down. So yes, not looking so great unless you like big discounts. And of course, for me, I'm looking at this going, hey, this is looking pretty good. As far as the risk bands, I'm almost where I'm supposed to be. I'm almost at 0.47 or 0.45 of the risk band. You don't know what I'm talking about? Link in the description. You can check that out. As far as the video, this is, of course, stealing Ben's information from his website. And yeah, once we get to around 80,000, 75, I'll be buying like crazy. So we'll see what happens. But again, that's not what you're here for. You're here for to talk about, are we in the right path? Let's answer JJ's question first. I've been around since 2017. Never amazes me how people get so skittish and scared during these times. And this is your first cycle. I get it, because I was just like you. My first cycle in 2018, I was like, well, that sucks. I just lost everything. Everything that I invested into. This is the most ridiculous thing. This is a scam. My uncle's friend's neighbor was right. He knew more about investing than I did, or whoever it was. So I'm just here to say, I get where you're coming from, but it's a little unfounded. So this obviously is Bitcoin. And I'm going to go back in time. And I think you're sick of looking at this, but you know, today's the 28th of February, right? I think so. Is that the 28th? Look at that. Friday, February 28th. And we go in 4-year cycles. I still think they're still intact. Some people say I'm wrong, but I'm not. It's still intact. So we'll see what happens in 2025. But 4 years ago, in February 21st, 2021 to February 28th, 2021, it dropped 22%. It went from 57,669 to 44,970. That is a 22% drop. What was that number we talked about in the beginning? 14.7%. It was a 15% drop in the last 7 days. 4 years ago, it was 22%. And let me tell you, as we go over this and we take a look at it, you guys got, if you're in 2021, in some ways you guys had it easier. Some ways you did have it harder, but it just is what it is. But as a reminder, moving forward, to answer JJ's question, I still think we're still there. Now, I'm not going to go back to January, but I want to start in February. And I want you to remember that, because people say, well, you know, is it just Bitcoin or is it altcoins too? Altcoins have done it all as well. And I need to make this point before we go on and take a look at Fed funds rate, before we look at M2 American money supply, M2 global money supply, and a couple of different other things. So we can just see here that, did you know, February 2021, Ethereum went from $1,450 to $4,000 on May 11th. Wow, it's pretty good. That's an 188% increase. And then it dropped 57% from May to July. So about 2 months or so, dropped 57%. Then it went up 168%. So remember, from here to here, we're just at this point where everything was starting to fall down. And I remember back in this time in February 2021, people were saying the same thing. Well, that was fun, but that's over, because it dropped like 13% or something. I'm like, well, maybe. This is only my second cycle on 2021. Now it's my third. I'm like, I think it'll be okay. The same thing happened with Solana. From March to May, went up 300+%. And then look at that number. From May to July, it dropped 57%. The exact same amount from May 11th to July 20th. This one was May 18th to July 20th, 57%. What is so big about July 20th? Because the same thing happened to Cardano. On February, it was 95 cents. Then it rocketed up to 220. That's 141%. And then July 20th, it dropped to 54%. And then it rallied 179, but then it dropped to 57% from September to December. In November, it wasn't really much of a rally for them. So what was it on July 20th, 2021? What made the market so crazy? Well, it's the same thing that we go over. The market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. Just remember that. And sometimes people will look at this and go, and I remember this time, July 20th, there was a big news about China just shut down Bitcoin. And it made it illegal. It made it illegal for mining. And everywhere was the talk. And all the bobbleheads and all the smart people and all the socioeconomic experts come out of the woodwork and say, well, this is the worst thing ever, because that is, you know, a huge amount of money sloshing around in China. Now we can't get it. And of course, because they just banned it. That's a huge economy that just got taken away from the cryptocurrency and digital asset space. So that's dead. And I'm going to tell you why that was so unfounded in a bit. And then, of course, Tesla came out. Elon Musk, love him or hate him. Everybody loved him in December 2020 when he said, hey, we're going to start taking payments for Tesla. Everybody's like, that's fantastic. And all of a sudden, in July 20th or around that time, he said, you know what? We're going to stop taking money. We're going to stop taking Bitcoin for payments. You know why? Because it's not viable for the world. It's not a viable product because of climate issues. Can't make it up. And they stopped taking payments for that. And then everybody said, well, that's Tesla, that's big, so they know they're smart money and we're going to get out. That's why everything dropped around that time. As we move forward, you can see the same thing happening over and over again. And we can see this happening also with everything that we talk about in the macro economy. And we talk about, oh, well, this rate cut, or that rate cut, or, oh, Zelensky met with Trump and that wasn't a good one. The way that he shook his hand was bad. And then also what's going on with the economy in China. And then, of course, with their real estate. And it's just never stops. And again, this was a very unfounded type of situation. We just talked about this yesterday in our bullish video. This is from River. And they said that the geographic hash rate for Bitcoin, guess where almost the biggest, the third biggest hash rate for Bitcoin mining? That's right, China, 14%. So while they said that, I believe it's still banned, it was going on just fine. Oh, if we only would have known. But then people will say, but Rob, but that's that. But what about the M2 money supply? I mean, if we don't have the liquidity, we're never going to get any funds in. Well, let me just show you this. This is the M2 money supply. This is America. And we got around $20 trillion sloshing around. So on the red is the M2 money supply going up, and blue is Bitcoin. And we can see that as the money supply was going up in 2017, oh yeah, we hit it good. Same thing with the S&P 500. We did the same thing again in 2021 when the printers were on. But if you may notice, this is March 2024. It says Bitcoin cycle all-time high. I did this a couple of months ago. And it hit 73,000. What do you see? There's actually a reduction in the M2 money supply in the far right. And you can see actually the money printer had been turned off at that point. But yet we still hit 73,000. We went above where we were at on November 2021 with less money of the M2 money supply sloshing around. And now we hit 108,000 just roughly a month ago. And the printer, even though it says it's off, there was a couple billion being printed here and there, or the easing part, I should say. But it still hit $108,000. And then, of course, people say, but the global money supply. All right. Well, we took a look at this in River too. In 2015, 2017, yes. If we're taking a look at the global M2 money supply, which is in the bottom, year-over-year change, and on the top is the Bitcoin price, matches up beautifully. I mean, for the most part. There's a couple of parts that doesn't really make sense from around 2016, 17, early top part, where there was a reduction in money supply, but yet Bitcoin price went up, but I'm not going to talk about it. Over here in 2021, we can see that during that time frame around April or May, when the money supply was the highest, Bitcoin was doing pretty good. What do you notice there in November 2021? The money supply went down year over year, but Bitcoin went up. So again, like when I say Bitcoin and altcoins have already done this, they've already done this. They've already been through this. They've already been through wars. They've already been through money supplies. And we're going to take a look at the Fed funds rate. They've already been through that. They've already been through economic distress. They've been through a damn pandemic and they went out just fine. And now here we go, current bull market, year over year change, global money supply. It actually went down and Bitcoin went up and it went to $108,000. But Rob, what about the Fed assets? Because, quantitative tightening. Well, first of all, what does that mean as far as quantitative tightening? It's when the Fed puts different assets on the balance sheet. That will be TIPS, Treasury Inflated Protected Securities, U.S. Treasury bills, loans, mortgage-backed securities, U.S. Treasury notes, and bonds. And here's the thing. Over the last 3 cycles, I'm not going to go all the way back to 2013 when there was a double top. I'm just going to stick to 20. Well, I guess I'm not going to go with the double top in 2013. I'm going to look at 2013, 2017. And then now, you can see that we did it as the money supply was going up. That makes sense. We did it over here in 2017 when it was flat. The money supply, M2, or excuse me, the Federal Reserve's total assets. I apologize. Got a little ahead of myself. So they weren't adding, they weren't subtracting. They were adding here in 2013. They were flat over here in 2017. Why didn't I not put 2021? I should have. Because in 2021, look at the total assets that they put on. They put a boatload on. And then over here in 2025, there's actually been a massive reduction as the Fed takes those items off of their balance sheet and sells off. So when you say, but Rob, but there's tightening and there's still tightening going, yes, I understand that. But we've been through every situation. Fed brings stuff on the balance sheet, Fed levels out, brings some more, drops a bunch. And yes, you can make the argument, and I can understand that. They said, but look at this. The total assets are 6.832 trillion. You're looking at over here in 2021, it was around, wow, how much was this? $8.75 trillion on the balance sheet. So it's been reduced greatly. 2017, it was 4.43. And of course, in 2013, 3.93. However, you can see that it's gone through all the cycles and done just fine. But the federal funds rate, Rob, the federal funds rate. Here's the effective federal funds rate. 2017, we were going up. means we were adding in, we were actually from flat in 2013. So actually in 2013, we went flat, 0%. We raised in 2017. We still hit an all-time high at 1.25 of the federal funds rate. We went all the way up, topped, dropped like crazy, had a pandemic. We were at 0%, went to the roof, and then we raised like crazy. And here we are again. That was March at 73,000. But if you want to take a look at it, we still are higher than we were in 2021. We hit an all-time high, and we had 108,000 at 4.25% federal funds rate effective rate. So why am I bullish? And we talked about this yesterday. This only makes sense. There's a lot of individuals who have a lot of faith in Bitcoin. And of course, there are going to be a lot of faith in altcoins. We have to find a really good use case besides meme coins, because that's worthless. But this is what we talked about yesterday. The total addressable market is 225 trillion. Think of it this way. Real estate is 330 trillion. Bonds 300, money 120, gold, art, and equities. You're looking at maybe another 130, 145, 150 trillion dollars. And we've only got 2 trillion. So again, I just don't think that we've seen the end of this run. I still think we got a lot of room to grow, but we will see. And this is the thing I wanted to show everybody. I know if you just have been in here for a bit and this is your first cycle, it seems like it's the worst of all time, but it's not. Actually, if you were here for 2012, 2013, you get a pass, because this is laughable to you. You're looking at, it goes from a continuum on 0% to 120%, 100%. And we can see that in 2013, 2012, 2013, there was a magnificent drop, right? You're looking at 80%, 90% drops. 2017 wasn't too bad, actually. No wonder people compare 2016, 17 to 2024 and 2025. Those drops are not that bad at all. The big drops, and of course, you can thank the coronavirus for this one. Look at those drops. Those are big drops. You're looking at 40, 50% plus in a very short amount of time. That's quite a wick. So I know people will say, well, this cycle is the worst, this cycle is the worst. I just don't think so. And having said all that, I am very bullish. I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up. Shout out to Wes from Smart Money Tracking, who introduced me to this one. It's the Nansen Smart Money Stablecoin Indicator. This tracks a bunch of different wallets from some of the whales out there, the Pantera Capitals, the different big smart folks that have been investing in crypto for quite some time. This is a stablecoin indicator. So as they increase stable coins, they are selling off and getting into green dollars. And you can just see here in January 2021, they were accumulating all the way till around May, June, somewhere around there. And then remember during that time we talked about from like May, June, July, it started to really just crash. And then it went from August, September, October, November to just this magnificent rally. Look what Smart Money did. They started to sell off. And the reason why we know they sell off is because they don't just sell and put in dollars, they sell and put into stable coins for the next run. And they sold all the way to January 2022. And they kept selling because there was some gains to be had in altcoins, that's for sure. And then around July, they say, you know what? Maybe we should accumulate some more. So they started to buy crypto. And they got rid of their stable coins and I put orange. That could mean Bitcoin, or it could be whatever you want it to be, whatever crypto. Then halfway through, really towards the end of 2022, the bottom, and they started to sell off again. Put a little green. Wasn't too long though. And then they started to accumulate. And they accumulate all the way through beginning of 2023, all the way to July 2024. It's a long time to accumulate. You know how big those fat bags are right now? Sell off a little bit, see how that worked. Did pretty good, accumulate a little bit more, and now they are selling off right here. So everything we just talked about, it sounds good. It's been in all different positions, But this is what we have, and this is what smart money, quote unquote, is doing. So it makes me still bullish, but cautiously bullish. And then to answer the last question, which was as such, Ian says, Rob, getting into stocks, especially MicroStrategy, as a proxy for holding onto Bitcoin and exposing myself to that risk. He says, couldn't a custodian for an ETF could be hacked in a similar way to Bybit? Which I got to tell you, the Bybit CEO did a great job. And apparently, it wasn't Bybit's fault for what happened. It was the site that they used. I forgot the name of it. Tell me in the comment section. The site that they used for a multi-sig wallet, there was 3 different signatures. Actually, they were hacked. And because they had access to it, they had access to everybody who logged in and used their service. And they rerouted all the different, the big boys into their own wallet. So I'm keen to understand why you are more comfortable with that than holding on an exchange, given the ETF custodian is often COINBASE, which is true. Isn't the risk of leaving funds on COINBASE the same as just buying one of its clients' ETFs? I bet what I'm missing. So it comes down to this. When it's on an exchange, they can do a lot of different things with it, first of all. It depends on what kind of exchange it is. And that was the problem with the FTXs, the Voyagers, the Celsius, and the BlockFis. They were rehypothecating your crypto, your digital assets. Because of how ETFs work, they have to back everything up one-to-one. Now, they could be straight up lying and cooking the books. That's happened. And that's not just, of course, with them. That's with all the different companies that are out there. They could be lying. They could be doing some other things. But of course, if they do those things, they are setting themselves up for legal issues, problems, and potential jail time. Take a look at what SBF is going through. And also take a look what Skaminsky is going to happen. Excuse me, Alex Mashinsky from Celsius, 70 more days before he faces trial. So for all those things, no, it is a little bit different. Also, there's a difference between Coinbase Prime and Coinbase itself. So when you have it into Coinbase, they can do a lot of different things with it. And you can take things off on a cold storage device, a hot storage device. You can take your crypto off of that like it's no big problem and just transfer it over. And then, of course, you can put it wherever you want to. However, with an ETF, it's different. It's not like you can take it out in kind. I know people were complaining about that when Gary Gensler and the SEC actually approved it. They said you can't do in kind. It's got to be cash. So it's easier to track cash. Again, this isn't a perfect situation than it is to track Bitcoin or whatever else may get stolen. And if you're a hacker, which some of you are, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a heck of a lot easier to move Bitcoin and crypto around, even though not too much is actually used for illicit activity, which is pretty crazy, than it is to move money around, even though it is the preferred medium of exchange for terrorists and the cartel. Go figure. So let's dive into that. So why do I feel like I should do an ETF? It's because of diversification. I'm not saying I'm going to put everything. And first of all, you don't do what I do. That's goofy. You do what's good for you and what's good for you and your family, right? This is what I think is good for me. Because when I see stuff like this, I'm like, I want to be part of that. So as a reminder, you know, if you have made a lot of money in crypto or digital assets, this might be something that you're going to really want to think about. Because this was Ledger's co-founder. And I don't know if you guys know the whole story. And hopefully I don't get demonetized for this or taken off or get this. The video will be fine. On January 21st, David Blend and his wife are abducted from their home and taken to separate locations. Him and his wife. Kidnappers demand 100 Bitcoin or 10 million. And they send one of David's severed fingers as proof. Well, that's awful. Hours later, they free his wife, found tied up in a car. Total suspects apprehended, 10 gang members, now facing life imprisonment. Most of the ransom is tracked and frozen. Most, not all. That's gone. And also your finger's gone. Unless they're able to reattach, but good luck to that. Also, just recently, there was a family in Chi-Town in Chicago. And they were kidnapped. I think it was four. Four of them, 3 were family members, and 1 was the maid. Kidnapped for 15 million ransom in Chicago. And these were, looks like they were Chinese nationalists. They spoke Mandarin. They also spoke Spanish. So I don't know. There's about 8 of them, and they caught 2. And $9 million is gone. So that's just 2 things. Plan B comes out as a reminder. He says, I'm going to transfer my Bitcoin to ETFs. He goes, I know not your keys, not your coins, but I don't want to deal with it. I'm not going to hassle with keys because it gives me peace of mind. And again, that works for plan B. What's the problem? Do we have to shove it down everybody's throat that they have to do it a certain way? You do whatever you want to do. And then, of course, for me, I always think about this one. A friend of mine got everything hacked and gone. Do you think that people who get hacked, the people who lose their paperwork, and there's some smart people out there, and they still make mistakes. Are you infallible? I doubt it. I mess up all the time. Ask my wife, she'll tell you. So like with this stuff here, I'm like, I don't want to be this guy. I got to diversify. If I diversify my investments, why shouldn't I diversify my security? And for this one, this person says, Rob, been a long time subscriber, saw your video about your friend who was hacked and lost all his crypto. And unfortunately, the same thing happened to me last week. All my assets worth about $3 million were stolen from my Coinbase wallet. First of all, what are you doing? Put in a Coinbase wallet. I don't even know if they know what that is or if they think that the Coinbase wallet is the exchange. Second, why do you have everything on Coinbase to begin with? You should have had at least a couple of cold storage devices, if not a Coinbase wallet and if not an exchange. So I'm not doing my job if people aren't listening to me in that message. This was my entire wealth accumulated over 26 years of hard work. I reported to local police, but they haven't responded. Do you have any suggestions or know of any companies? And I answered this person offline. So as far as the Bitcoin ETF, I'm going to figure that out. And I'd like to get somebody on this show from these groups to explain this to us and see what it is. For most of you, this is not your thing. And you can skip the video. I understand. But for me, I'm going to take a look at it and go, what do you guys got? What's the fees? How does this work out? How do I make sure it's good? It's on the up and up. So for that one, I'm still going through the process. However, the same company that does my Roth IRA just started premium custody. So I'm going to snip off a little bit of my Bitcoin and put it into their premium custody account. And it's iTRUST. And remember, I've said, pay attention to the ones that build in the bear because they'll crush in the bull. These guys lasted all the way through 2021 when everything was high and mighty to 2022 and everything crashed and everybody collapsed. 23, 24, 25. And here they are. Also, there's a couple of guys that like Coinbase Prime as well. That's Larry Fink from BlackRock. He likes them, use them. BlackRock uses them for a custody. And there's this guy, Michael Saylor. Don't think you ever heard of him. But he says, you know what? If I'm going to put it for MicroStrategy for our Bitcoin, let's use Coinbase Prime. The same ones that iTRUST do. So how's the safety? Well, they have a closed loop system, apparently. Deposits and withdrawals are limited to dollars. It's not crypto. It must be made directly to and from the account holder's bank account. Digital assets cannot be withdrawn to exchanges, personal wallets, or platforms. Let me say that again. Digital assets cannot be withdrawn to exchanges, personal wallets, or platforms. Some of you are like, why would I do this? This is why you would do this. And again, it's not for everybody. USD only, no crypto deposits, USD only withdrawals, no crypto withdrawals, which means if a hacker gets a hold of your computer, they can't just move everything around in some wallet and go somewhere else. They'd have to hack your computer. They'd have to hack your bank. They'd have to transfer it to their bank, which they have information because most of the banks do KYC and AML. Also, just so you guys may realize, most banks suck. When you try to move any amount of money over $5,000, they are up in you. And I have a great bank, and they're all over me. So when this type of thing happens, the chances of them moving off is pretty low. 24, and this is the big thing, because the ETF people say, well, what if there's a big thing that's going on and I want to trade it? This isn't really for traders, but I mean, if you want it, it's there. It's 24/7 buying and selling. So the ETF has its limitations in that part. At least with iTRUST, they don't. Users can buy and sell digital assets anytime. And you got, it's not dozens, it's dozens and dozens. So what makes it different? It's one-to-one off balance sheet, dollars to crypto. It's not leveraged, loaned, or commingled. Oh yeah. And this product is for individuals who want to allocate long-term, not for people who want to trade. So if you got a question about that, there's a link in the description. You can watch the video. I don't have an affiliation for this product for iTRUST. I do have one for the Roth IRA, but this is totally different. This is a custody service that they're offering. I just want to bring it to your attention because I'm going to start doing it. If you want to call somebody and talk to them, there's the phone number, 562-600-8399. They're probably going to get bombarded after this. So links in the description, you can find them and email them and go from there and see what you want to do. And that's it for today. So look, sorry that took so long. That was 30 minutes. Wow, it was a long time. If you like today's video, thumbs up, subscribe, all the good stuff. Now, if you want to do a little Q&A, I'll answer all your questions, and we'll get out of here and enjoy our weekend. All right. So yeah, Daniel says that spread's going to be too high. Yeah, maybe. Oh, there's one more thing. So there is no monthly fees. There is anything like that, but there is a 1% fee for everything that you buy and sell. So people will say, well, again, why would I do that? Again, this is not for everybody. This is for a few people who are like, I don't want to deal with the hacks. I don't want to deal with the wrench attacks. I don't want to deal with somebody coming to my house that they figure out that I have crypto and they pummel me for all my crypto because it's easy to take it out of a wallet and they can do it just like that. I want safety, security, and I don't want to screw around. That's you guys. That is not 90% of my audience. 90% of my audience is like, I don't want that. That's fine. Bailey, what I miss? Nothing. I told everybody to sell everything and get out because apparently there is something going on with the World Bank, and they're going to stop all Bitcoin transactions. That was a joke. It was a bad one. You didn't miss anything. Let's see. Never bring a wrench to a gunfight. See, Krasner, that's the thing. Like, this is what me and Jerry were talking about. Jerry's, because we're saying, well, just have a gun ready. I'm like, I have the gun ready. But let's just say somebody knocks on your door. Like, this is what happened in Chicago. That story with the 4 family members that got kidnapped. Some guy hits, so he's in a car, he hits something, I think it's the garage door on accident. He comes to or he hits something like in the yard. He comes to the door, knocks on it, says, hey, I'm really sorry. I just damaged part of your house. I didn't see it. And if you can come out here and look at it, we'll discuss it with the insurance. And I got my insurance papers with me. The guy's like, oh yeah, okay, come on. Comes out, 3 guys waiting with weapons. Okay, get back inside. Where's your wife? Where's your kids? Who's that? On the ground. Zip ties. Don't look at me. Here's what we want. So unless, Cransinator, you're going to the door every single time with your gun, I'm just saying, the gun works out great until someone's like, do you have time to spare to talk about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? By the way, So these types of things can happen. Cransinator, I do. You're one of the rares. Don't go to Cransinator's house. Because even when Domino shows up, he's got a 9 shove in their face. Joey, Rob, you're into real estate. What do you say to buying an island in the Caribbean and then a special receptacle for your cold storage device like an old chest? I was going to talk about that. In every bad pirate movie, there's always this one treasure that the pirates just bury in this one treasure chest in this one island. And every time I would watch that, I thought, what a bunch of morons. Because like, if you put all your assets into one treasure chest in one island, right? And then some other pirate or somebody rumbles along into it like, ooh, look at this, the treasure chest. Then all your gold is gone. Like if I was a pirate, I would just say, you know what, boys, we're going to put 20% of our gold in this one. Then we're going to sail over to this island and hide it there. And then this island. And, you might lose 20%, but at least you don't lose 100%. That's kind of like what I'm thinking of as far as like cold storage device. Yeah, pirates are dumb. Liz says, maybe people are paying the penalty. That's a lot of selling, Liz. And the question is, how much is it? Actually, I hear that every single year. It's just, my favorite one is though, in January, when there's like a little sell-off, people are like, it's Chinese New Year. They're selling for gifts. All right. And then of course in March to April, first of all, people are selling quite early because here in the States, they have until April 15th. Now, some people want to get it done pretty early, but usually if you get a refund back, you're done by January 31st. And then, February, maybe there's some people selling off, but usually people are lazy. They don't do things until like mid-March, beginning of April. And if you are that person, don't lie. You are a procrastinator. So during that time, Usually we'd see like, April being a pretty bad year. Let me show you something. Let me show you this website I found. It's called Into the Cryptoverse. And if we go over here to dashboard, steal some more stuff, charts, monthly. I don't know if it's the ROI or the returns. I always get this one confused. Hold on real quick. Whatever loads. Oh, that's not it. Monthly returns. Here we are. So as we see here, like you would think, okay, well, March, a lot of people would sell in March or February for taxes, right? Taxes. But look in February. Usually it's a pretty good month. I mean, 2024, you have 45% for crypto. 2022, 14, 2021, 49. 2020, you're only down 8%. But then 19, 18, 17, 16, 15. Then 14, 32. What about March? Well, the last 4 years have been pretty good. Then a hiccup in 2020. Then 2019, 8.65. And you got me in 2018 and 2014. So not everybody's selling at the same time if they are doing this for taxes. And then you can say, well, what about April? And this is where I would think people would sell off because they're lazy and they procrastinate. So 2024, that fits my thesis, negative 16. 2023, negative 1, 16 and 1. It's not too bad, really. But look at 2020 to 2016. Something happened. No one has to sell off for taxes. I know that there's some selling for taxes. That makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't seem to really work out for like the main contributing factor. And then if you look at August and September, those are the worst months. For whatever reason, I don't know. And then of course, October and November are like some of the best. November is 101% on average. No, seriously, 36.5% on average, plus or minus 101%. Crazy. Oh, that's a good question. What do you think about Bitcoin dominance starting to plummet in March? 2017 it did with QT and 2020 it did with QE. I got to take a look at that. That sounds pretty good. That'd be great. I know a guy who's really good with that. I'll have to ask him next time I see him. Yeah, I'm terrified of a house fire and losing my paper log seed phrase. Cue everybody in the comment section to tell LC3 Blink to buy one of those steel mnemonic phrase holders. You can do that. Just don't put that on the cloud or anywhere that's in the computer because that's where all the people are hackers and find it. Put in a lockbox at your bank. It's pretty good. Some people would say put half of the mnemonic phrase in a lockbox because the government can come in and raid a bank and take I'm like, yeah, maybe. But that's what I do. I have it in a bank in a safety deposit box because I'm not going to leave it in my house. Not a good idea. Jake today says, I prefer I'm selling everything. Good enough. I swear I'm not one of the April people. You're one of the few, but that's good. Jay's here. There's a gap. They're still CME at 74K, so I think it'll be filled next day. Man, I hope you're right, Rich, because that means that would hit. My risk levels. If we're at 74K, let's go back here. Screener, risk, Bitcoin. Wow, Bitcoin's really far down. I'm looking at 0.47. Ooh, 80,000 to 75,000. Hold on, let me pull this up. That's historically a pretty good time to buy. I'll take it. Rich, I hope you're right. That'd be awesome. I always follow in October, less likely than not. That's a great point. There was a study about who gets audited most in the United States. The people that get audited the most are the people who file the earliest. That's because the IRS is just sitting around going, we got nothing to do. Just waiting for those IRS documents to come in to see who's filed. Great. Joe Blow. Let me audit this one real quick. Then they get bogged down. Then the people who are like, I just need an extension. usually those ones get audited less. And then the ones that get audited even less are the ones that ask for an extension and they have a corporation, more specifically an S Corp or a C Corp. The ones that get audited more than that are a single member LLC. So if you ever open up a business, it will behoove you to do an S Corp, C Corp, as opposed to non-business, obviously, and paying early. As far as, an audit, I've been through a couple audits. They both sucked. So I would just say, try to avoid those as much as possible. I sold in last April. I got to see this. Random dude, Trump on Zelensky went almost full Jerry Springer today. Great. That's our president. Yeah, Bailey says one good thing is when everybody's telling you it's going lower, lots of times it doesn't. It's true. It's true. A lot of the times, although I will tell you, Wes over at Smart Money Tracking just put out a video that said buy alert. So he's flipped from bearish to bullish. Texas Joe, Rob, are you selling your Bitcoin and buying ETF? How do you transfer your Bitcoin to ETF? You can't transfer. I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong, but you got to sell it and then put it into an ETF. And people say, isn't that a hassle? Yeah, but it's even more of a hassle, losing all of your Bitcoin. So let's say that I put in like 10% into an ETF, right? If Bitcoin goes to where we think it's going to go, 10% of what you guys have today will probably be a mountain of fiat money later. So for me, I'm just like, I'll take the hit. Then in 10 years, no big deal. I always do an extension and have an LLC and always scared of getting audited. Me and you, my friend, are on the same level. I am always afraid of getting audited because I don't want to deal with the work. Use a private vault service. That's a good one. And this is also a really good one. Reggie Classics. D Gentleman. Very nice. Most importantly, tell a loved one what to do with them if you die. That's a big thing. I also saw who was it? It was some podcast. They were talking about precious metals and gold. How a lot of times when people they die and then they don't leave instructions about the gold itself. I don't know how that works, but you would think they would. I wonder what happens to that gold then, if you never claimed. Bodan says, does End of the Cryptoverse free? Does it cost? Some of it's free and some of it costs money. So the stuff that's free, I know that the DCA tool is 100% free. And that's the one that I use a lot. But I think the one for the wristbands, you got to pay for a basic one. So I got a link in the description. 10% off the first month. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe you do. I think that's it. I think I just talked way too much. Goes to El Dorado. It's funny for the gold. J2 Day, are you doing PR meetups? I'm not anymore. And I'll tell you why. It's because when I see those stories about the wrench attacks, I'm like, first of all, don't wrench attack me. I don't have that much crypto. Let's just say I have no crypto. Let's for the sake of argument. It's not that much. I mean, if you want to steal some of my properties or my land, we're talking about a wholly different thing. That'd be very difficult to do. That's where I have most of my funds. So don't bother me if you see me on the streets. I'm very poor. Pierre says, Rob, can you tell us what happened in the minutes review? Yeah. So I talked to Josh, and he says everything's moving along, and they're going to push out the TGE, and we've got a meeting. I talked to him on Friday, last Tuesday. No, last Friday. And he made one for the 14th of March. So we'll see. He goes, I can't tell you this, but I said, can we do a meeting, around the time you're going to do the TGE? And he picked the 14th of March. Take that as you will. So I don't know. Yes, I like my fingers. They're great. I don't want to have one cut off. What's the update on the algo node? I reached out to Anthony Scaramucci, and I said, hey, man, I don't know. I'm thinking about doing an algo node. And if you have anybody that's whales that don't know what to do with other Algorand, because he's a big Algorand fan, could you funnel them to me? And he said, yeah, I'll see what I can do. And he never got back to me. So I'm waiting for the mooch to get back and see what he says. Chuck Schumer gets it. And yeah, Delta says, you know, we're very thankful to Ben. I hope people can afford to sign up. It's a good product. And this is it. And then we'll get out of here. It's been kind of long. Thanks, Rob. In fact, I think it's good to have people lose motivation because they'll be the ones who FOMO and we need these moments. You know, everything happens at the right place at the right time when it's supposed to happen. And if people miss out or they step away for a bit and then they come back, or maybe they never come back, it's just whatever's best for them. And that's really what it is. And we wish everybody the best of luck. Having said that, I think it's a good time to stop. Time for me to go to the beach. It's about 3:20. Time to go work out. Everybody, thanks so much for stopping by. Appreciate it. Like today's video, thumbs up, subscribe, all that good stuff. Again, link to iTRUST is in the description. I'll be citing that up myself. That's it for today. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you guys on the next one.